Welcome back to the Our Numisma Hub channel. Today we're diving into the fascinating history of the 1988 United States quarter dollar. This coin, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, carries the timeless portrait of George Washington and the powerful heraldic eagle reverse. Though common in circulation, it represents an important piece of America's coinage legacy, bridging the classic Washington quarter design with the changes that came just a decade later. Join us as we uncover its story, significance, and lasting place in U.S. history. Top 7. Let's get the satire first up. The 1988 United States quarter dollar belongs to the Washington Quarter Series, which have been in continuous production since 1932. This series was originally created to honor the 200th birth anniversary of George Washington, the nation's first president. By 1988, the Washington quarter had already become one of the most familiar and widely circulated coins in American commerce, reflecting both the strength of the U.S. Mint and the stability of the nation's coinage system. The obverse of the 1988 quarter features a classic bust of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. Washington faces left, with the word liberty inscribed above his head, and the national motto, "In God we trust," appearing on the left side. At the bottom, the year 1988 is struck. The Philadelphia Mint placed its P mint mark on the obverse just to the right of Washington's ponytail, making the 1988 quarter instantly identifiable. The reverse of the coin retains a heraldic eagle design that had been standard on Washington quarters from 1932 until 1998. The eagle is depicted with spread wings, clutching arrows in its talons and an olive branch beneath. Surrounding the eagle are the inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum, with quarter dollar displayed at the bottom. This imagery symbolized both the defensive strength and peaceful intentions of the United States. The 1988 quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most important coin-producing facilities in the world. The Philadelphia Mint had been producing coins since 1792, and by the late 20th century was striking billions of coins annually. In 1988, the Mint produced a very large number of quarters, ensuring their widespread availability in everyday circulation. Compositionally, the 1988 quarter was made from a copper-nickel clad alloy, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. This composition had been introduced in 1965, replacing the earlier 90% silver quarters. The change came as a response to rising silver prices, which had made it impractical to continue minting silver coins for circulation. The diameter of the 1988 quarter is 24.3 millimeters, with a weight of 5.67 grams. Its reeded edge is a traditional security feature, designed to deter clipping or shaving small amount of precious metal from the edges of coins. Although the clad quarter no longer contains silver, the Mint retained these traditional features to maintain consistency and public trust. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of 1988 quarters, making it one of the more common modern issues. This enormous mintage ensured that the coin would be available in every corner of the United States and would remain in active use for decades. Collectors today can still find 1988 quarters in circulation, though most exhibit significant wear from years of use. While common in circulated grades, uncirculated examples of the 1988 quarter hold greater appeal to collectors. Brilliant, uncirculated specimens showcase the sharpness of John Flanagan design and the luster of the copper-nickel alloy. High-grade examples are often sought for inclusion in Washington quarter sets that span the long-running series. Errors and varieties from the 1988 quarter are of special interest to numismatists. Although the year does not have widely known or dramatic errors like double dies or over mint marks, collectors always remain vigilant for off-center strikes, die cracks, and other minting anomalies that can increase a coin's value significantly above face value. The 1988 quarter is historically important because it represents one of the last decades of the original Washington quarter design before the U.S. Mint introduced the 50-state quarters program in 1999. That program dramatically reshaped modern coin collecting by featuring rotating designs on the reverse, which replaced a long-standing heraldic eagle. Thus, the 1988 quarter stands as a symbol of the traditional Washington quarter era. Economically, the quarter was the workhorse of American commerce in the 1980s. It was widely used for vending machines, payphones, parking meters, laundromats, and arcade games. Its value was enough to be useful in daily transactions, but not so large that it was impractical for small purchases. The 1988 P quarter circulated heavily during a decade of technological change and consumer convenience. Culturally, the Washington quarter carried more than just monetary significance. As one of the most recognizable American coins, it reinforced the image of George Washington as a national symbol of leadership, strength, and independence. For many Americans in the 1980s, Washington's portrait on the quarter was a daily reminder of national heritage. For collectors today, the 1988 P quarter is not considered rare, but it plays a key role in completing a collection of Washington quarters by date and mint mark. Collectors often seek the best-preserved examples with minimal wear, strong strikes, and original mint luster. Graded coins in mint state 65 or higher can command higher premiums in the numismatic market. The coin also has value as a teaching tool for understanding the U.S. Mint's transition from silver to clad coinage, as well as the evolution of American design traditions. By examining a 1988 P quarter, students of history and numismatics can trace broader economic shifts, changes in public taste, and the endurance of iconic imagery in U.S. coinage. While most 1988 P quarters remain worth only their face value in circulated condition, their real significance lies in their role as a piece of living history. Each quarter passed through countless hands, vending machines and cash registers, bearing silent witness to everyday American life in the late 20th century. Collectors value this connection to the past as much as the coin's physical attributes. In conclusion, the 1988 P quarter dollar is a coin of immense historical and cultural value, even if not financially rare. It bridges the traditional Washington quarter era with the coming revolution of modern commemorative coinage. Struck in massive numbers, it continues to circulate today, a small but enduring piece of the American story. For collectors, historians, and everyday Americans, the 1988 P quarter remains a symbol of continuity, tradition, and national pride.
Next up, 1981 United States quarter dollar, bearing the P mint mark for Philadelphia, is part of the long-running Washington quarter series. First introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the design became a staple of American coinage. By 1981, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for nearly 5 decades, maintaining its role as one of the most widely used coins in daily commerce across the country. On the obverse side, the 1981 P quarter features a portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. His bust faces left with the word Liberty inscribed above and the national motto "In God We Trust" appearing to the left of his neck. Below the portrait is the date 1981, identifying its year of mintage. To the right side of Washington's ponytail lies the small P mint mark, representing the Philadelphia Mint. The reverse design depicts an eagle with outstretched wings, perched upon a bundle of arrows symbolizing readiness to defend the nation. Below the arrows is an olive branch representing peace. Above the eagle is the legend United States of America, while the denomination quarter dollar rests at the bottom. The phrase EPLURBUSUNUM appears between the eagle and the top legend, emphasizing America's motto, "Out of many, one." The composition of the 1981 quarter reflects the major changes in U.S. coinage that began in the mid-1960s. Originally, quarters were struck in 90% silver and 10% copper until 1964. Due to rising silver prices and coin shortages, the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-nickel clad composition starting in 1965. The 1981 P quarter follows this standard, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin a total weight of 5.67 grams and a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. The Philadelphia Mint, which struck the 1981 P quarters, produced them in large numbers to ensure steady circulation. In 1981, over 601 million quarters were minted with the P mint mark, making it one of the most common quarters of that year. The sheer size of this mintage means that most 1981 P quarters are still relatively easy to find in circulation even today, though their condition has a significant impact on their collector value. Despite its high mintage, The 1981 P quarter holds historical importance because it represents the continuation of the Washington quarter series just before major changes would occur. By the late 1990s, the mint transitioned to the popular 50-state quarters program 1999-2008, but in 1981, the series still retained the classic eagle reverse design. This gives the 1981 issue a place in the late classic era of Washington quarters. One notable fact about the Philadelphia Mint in 1980 is that coins from this facility had only recently begun carrying a P mint mark. Before 1980, Philadelphia minted quarters did not feature any mint mark at all. Starting in 1980, the P was introduced on quarters, which makes the 1981 P one of the very early issues in which the Philadelphia Mint proudly marked its coins for collectors and the general public. In circulation, most 1981 P quarters show signs of wear because they were widely used in everyday transactions. Coins in worn condition typically carry only face value, meaning they are worth 25 cents. However, examples that have been preserved in uncirculated or mint state condition can be more valuable to collectors. The quality of the strike, luster, and absence of bag marks all contribute to determining whether a coin commands a premium. Collectors especially prize high-grade specimens of the 1981 P quarter that have been certified by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC. Mint state MS coins graded 65 or higher are considered scarce and desirable. These coins can command prices significantly above face value, with MS 67 and higher grades being especially valuable due to their rarity. Errors and varieties also make certain 1981 P quarters more collectible. While no major national varieties are officially recognized, individual error coins such as off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, or clipped planchets have been found. Such error coins can sell for much higher amounts depending on the type and severity of the error. The 1981 P quarter, though common, is historically significant because it circulated during the early Reagan administration, a period marked by economic changes, inflation, and cultural shifts in America. Everyday pocket change like the 1981 quarter carried with it the imprint of the time, becoming a small but enduring witness to the lives of Americans in the early 1980s. For collectors building day 10 mintmark sets of Washington quarters, the 1981 P is a necessary inclusion. It represents both a high mintage year and an early Philadelphia P issue, adding historical context to the broader collection. While it may not be rare, its place in the series ensures that it remains sought after by those striving for completeness. The Washington Quarter series, including the 1981 P, has often been admired for its classical design. John Flanagan's portrait of Washington, although occasionally criticized for its lack of artistic depth compared to other proposals, has endured as one of the most recognizable faces in American coinage. By 1981, it had already become an icon on the nation's 25-cent pieces. In terms of modern numismatics, the 1981 P quarter serves as a reminder of the shift in collecting trends. While earlier generations prized silver quarters, later collectors increasingly turned their attention to clad issues like the 1981 P. This change broadened the scope of the hobby, as more recent coins began to gain recognition for their place in American coinage history. Today, most 1981 P quarters in circulated condition remain worth only their face value, but uncirculated and high-grade certified examples can sell for anywhere from a few dollars to several hundred, depending on rarity and quality. For instance, pristine MS-67 examples have been known to fetch strong prices in auctions because of their scarcity in such condition. In conclusion, the 1981 P Washington quarter is a coin that blends history, utility, and collectability. With its massive mintage, it remains a common coin in circulation, but its significance lies in being an early Philadelphia P mintmark issue and a representative of the classic eagle reverse design before the dawn of modern commemorative quarter programs. Whether found in pocket change or in a coin collection, the 1981 P quarter continues to embody the legacy of George Washington and the enduring story of American coinage.
Next up, the 1970 D Washington quarter is a significant piece of American numismatic history, minted during a period of great change in both the United States economy and coinage system. Struck at the Denver Mint, this coin carries a D mint mark, which distinguishes it from those struck at Philadelphia and San Francisco. The Washington quarter had already been in circulation for nearly 4 decades by 1970, first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The 1970 issue continued this tradition while adapting to modern needs. Designed by John Flanagan, the obverse of the coin prominently features the left-facing bust of George Washington, the nation's first president. The word liberty arches over Washington's head, while the motto, "In God We Trust," sits just to the left beneath his chin. The date, 1970, is positioned at the bottom. The Denver Mint small d mint mark appears just to the right of the ribbon at the base of Washington's portrait, a subtle but important marker for collectors. The reverse of the 1970 D Washington quarter continues Flanagan design, showcasing a bold heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, perched upon a bundle of arrows. Below the arrows rests an olive branch, symbolizing America's balance of strength and peace. The inscriptions "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum" frame the eagle at the top, while quarter dollar spans the bottom. This reverse design remained largely unchanged until the state quarters program was introduced in 1999. By 1970, the United States Mint had been producing quarters in a copper-nickel clad composition for 5 years. This change began in 1965, when silver was officially removed from circulating dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices and widespread coin hoarding. The 1970 D quarter is therefore composed of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. The total weight of the coin is 5.67 grams, and it measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter with a reeded edge. The economic background of 1970 also shaped coin production. The late 1960s and early 1970s saw inflationary pressures and shifts in U.S. monetary policy. With silver no longer in use for circulating quarters, the mint was able to meet the growing demand for coinage with copper-nickel clad coins. Millions of 1970 D quarters were struck, making them common in circulation, but still cherished by collectors in higher grades. A total of over 417 million Washington quarters were struck at the Denver Mint in 1970, ensuring their wide circulation throughout the nation. This massive production run makes the 1970 D quarter a readily available coin for collectors today, though high-grade uncirculated examples and proof-like specimens are more difficult to obtain and carry higher premiums. The 1970 D quarter is especially notable because it was struck during a transitional era in U.S. coin collecting. The removal of silver from quarters caused collectors to begin paying closer attention to mint marks, condition, and production varieties. As a result, coins like the 1970 D became part of larger sets in Whitman folders and albums, helping to fuel the booming hobby of coin collecting in the 1970s. While most 1970 D quarters are quite ordinary, a few error coins have achieved legendary status. Off-center strikes, double dies, and striking errors are known to exist. The most famous related rarity is not a Denver coin, but a 1970s proof quarter struck on a 1941 Canadian quarter, which sold for tens of thousands of dollars at auction. Nonetheless, error examples of the 1970 D issue are highly prized when discovered. Condition plays a crucial role in the value of the 1970 D Washington quarter. Circulated examples typically trade for face value, as they remain common. However, coins in mint state condition, graded MS65 and above, can fetch much higher prices. Collectors seek out quarters with sharp details, strong luster, and minimal contact marks. A 1970 D graded MS67 can be worth hundreds of dollars due to its scarcity in such high grade. The Denver Mint itself has an important legacy in American coinage history. Established in 1906, it quickly became one of the primary facilities for producing circulating coinage. By 1970, the Denver Mint was a central player in fulfilling the nation's need for coinage, striking hundreds of millions of quarters, dimes, and half-dollars every year. The D Mint mark became a symbol of high-volume, quality coin production. Numismatists often compare the 1970 D quarter with its Philadelphia counterpart. The Philadelphia Mint struck fewer quarters that year, and they do not carry a mint mark. Collectors frequently seek to complete sets containing both versions, making the D Mint mark a vital identifier for distinguishing coins from the two mints. This practice of collecting by mint mark grew rapidly during the 20th century, becoming a cornerstone of U.S. coin collecting. The year 1970 also marked the end of an era in another way. While clad coinage was firmly established, many older Americans still remembered silver quarters, and some continued to hoard pre-1965 coins. This gave the 1970 D issue a transitional quality, existing in a world where both silver and clad quarters circulated side by side, though the silver coins quickly disappeared into private hands. Collectors often note the design's durability. John Flanagan's portrait of Washington had been in use since 1932, and while it was criticized for lacking depth compared to Laura Garden Fraser's original competition design, it nonetheless became one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. The 1970 D quarter continues this artistic tradition, reflecting both continuity and national pride. In the grading community, the 1970 D quarter is often studied for strike quality. Coins struck at Denver are generally well made, though some exhibit weaker strikes and hair details on Washington's portrait. These subtle differences make certain high-grade coins especially desirable. Sharp strike details, combined with minimal abrasions, elevate a coin's value significantly. Today, the 1970 D quarter remains an accessible and affordable entry point for new collectors, while still offering depth and nuance for advanced numismatists. It tells the story of a changing America, adapting its currency to economic realities while still honoring its founding father. Whether found in circulation, inherited from an older collection, or purchased in pristine condition, it represents a tangible connection to U.S. history. In summary, the 1970 D Washington quarter is more than just a coin worth 25 cents. It is a historical artifact that reflects America's transition from silver to clad coinage, the Denver Mint's vital role in supplying the nation with money, and the enduring legacy of George Washington on U.S. coinage. With over 417 million produced, it is common in circulation, but in higher grades or with striking errors, it holds significant value for collectors. The 1970 D quarter endures as a classic piece of American numismatic heritage. Next up, the 1974 United States quarter dollar is part of the Washington Quarter Series, which was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the coin features a left-facing bust of Washington on the obverse, an eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. The 1974 quarter belongs to the clad coinage era, when the U.S. Mint had already stopped producing quarters in 90% silver after 1964. Instead, the quarter was struck in copper-nickel clad composition, a change brought about to conserve silver for other needs and to reduce the cost of minting. The obverse of the 1974 quarter prominently features the profile of George Washington, a symbol of leadership and independence in American history. Flanagan design had been used consistently since the series began in 1932, though minor modifications were made over the years to enhance the detail. The inscriptions include Liberty above Washington's head, In God We Trust at the left, and the date 1974 at the bottom. The simplicity of the design has allowed it to remain iconic and recognizable to this day. On the reverse side, the coin displays an eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing America's readiness for defense. Beneath the arrows are olive branches, representing peace. This balance between strength and peace reflects the values the nation wanted to emphasize during much of the 20th century. The inscriptions on the reverse include United States of America across the top, E pluribus unum just above the eagle, and the denomination quarter dollar at the bottom. The composition of the 1974 quarter is a clad mixture. The outer layers are made of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to an inner core of pure copper. This produces a familiar sandwich look on the coin's edge, where a reddish copper stripe can be seen. This copper-nickel clad composition was introduced in 1965, replacing the 90% silver quarters that had circulated previously. As a result, quarters from 1965 onwards, including those from 1974, hold little intrinsic metal value compared to their silver predecessors. The weight of the 1974 quarter is 5.67 grams, and its diameter is 24.3 millimeters, consistent with modern quarters. The reeded edge contains 119 reeds, a feature designed to deter clipping or filing down coins for their metal content. While quarters from this era are common in circulation, they remain historically important because they represent a transitional period in American coinage when the nation moved permanently away from precious metal coins. The U.S. Mint struck the 1974 quarter at 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. Philadelphia and Denver produced circulation strikes in huge numbers, ensuring the coins were plentiful. San Francisco, however, mainly produced proof coins for collectors. Proof versions of 1974 S quarter were struck with mirror-like fields and frosted details, showcasing the artistry of the design more vividly than regular strikes. Mintage numbers for the 1974 quarter were significant. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 801 million coins, while the Denver Mint struck approximately 353 million. Together, these numbers ensure that the 1974 quarter is among the more common Washington quarters. The San Francisco Mint added another 2.6 million proof coins, which were sold directly to collectors in proof sets rather than released into circulation. In circulation, most 1974 quarters have experienced heavy wear, as they were widely used in commerce during the 1970s and beyond. Today, circulated examples are generally worth only face value, unless they exhibit unusual errors or varieties. However, high-grade uncirculated specimens can be valuable to collectors. The finest known examples, graded Mint State 67 or higher by professional grading services, are considerably scarcer and can bring premium prices at auction. Proof versions of the 1974 S quarter are particularly prized by collectors for their beauty. These coins were struck multiple times with specially polished dies, resulting in sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. Some proofs display cameo or deep cameo contrast, with a frosted design element stand out against reflective fields. Such pieces are especially sought after by specialists in the Washington Quarter series. While the 1974 quarter is not known for rare varieties, some error coins do exist. These include off-center strikes, double dies, clip planchets, and coins struck on the wrong metal planchets. Such errors are relatively scarce, and collectors often pay significant premiums for them, depending on the severity and uniqueness of the mistake. An interesting note is that the Washington quarter design had originally been intended as a one-year commemorative in 1932, but it was so well received that it became the standard quarter design. By 1974, this design had already been in use for more than 4 decades, and the public had become very familiar with it. The design would remain unchanged until 1999, when the 50-state quarters program was introduced. Economically, the 1974 quarter reflects the United States' coinage trends during a period of inflation and change. In the early 1970s, inflation was high, and the purchasing power of the quarter was already declining compared to earlier decades. Nevertheless, the quarter remained a critical denomination in everyday transactions, used widely in vending machines, payphones, and general commerce. For coin collectors, the 1974 quarter is often part of a larger pursuit, completing a Washington quarter date and mint mark set. Collectors usually seek examples from each year and mint in both circulation and proof strikes. Although the 1974 is a common date, finding pristine uncirculated coins or high-quality proofs remains a challenge that adds excitement to the hobby. In terms of cultural history, the Washington quarter became a symbol of American coinage in the 20th century. By 1974, it was not only a monetary tool, but also a reflection of national pride and tradition. Its continued use reinforced Washington's image as a unifying figure in American history, ensuring his likeness remained a daily sight in the hands of millions of Americans. Numismatically, the 1974 quarter serves as a bridge between the silver coins of the mid-20th century and the modern commemorative designs of the late 20th and 21st centuries. Collectors view it as part of the clad era, an era defined by durability and mass production rather than intrinsic metal value. Despite its abundance, the 1974 quarter plays an important role in understanding the evolution of American coinage. In conclusion, the 1974 United States quarter dollar is a common, yet historically significant piece of American coinage. With its enduring Washington design, copper-nickel-clad composition, and widespread circulation, it reflects both the economic realities and cultural values of its time. While most examples remain inexpensive and easily obtainable, high-grade and proof specimens, as well as rare era varieties, can attract strong collector interest. As such, the 1974 quarter remains a fascinating chapter in the long history of the Washington Quarter series. Next up, The 1989 United States quarter dollar is part of the long-running Washington quarter series, which has been a central piece of American coinage since its introduction in 1932. This series was originally created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1989, the Washington quarter had been circulating for more than 5 decades, and its design remained largely unchanged, making it one of the most recognizable coins in the United States. The obverse featured a portrait of George Washington, while the reverse displayed the heraldic eagle design. The 1989 quarter minted with the P mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most historically significant mints in the United States. The P mint mark indicates Philadelphia production, and it was a relatively recent addition at the time, first appearing on quarters in 1980. Before that, coins struck in Philadelphia generally bore no mint mark at all. So by 1989, the presence of the P had become an important identifying feature for collectors. In terms of composition, the 1989 P quarter was made from the standard clad alloy that had been adopted in 1965 following the removal of silver from circulating quarters. This clad alloy consisted of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. This change had been necessary due to the rising cost of silver in the 1960s, and by 1989, Americans had long been accustomed to the copper-nickel clad appearance and lighter feel compared to earlier 90% silver quarters. The obverse of the 1989 P quarter featured the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. This design had been in use since 1932 and had become an iconic representation of Washington. The obverse also displayed the inscriptions Liberty above Washington's head, the national motto, In God We Trust, at the left, and the year 1989 at the bottom. The P mint mark was located to the right of Washington's ponytail, just above the date. The reverse of the coin retained the heraldic eagle design, which had been used on quarters since 1932, with the exception of the bicentennial quarters of 1975 to 1976. This reverse design featured a proud bald eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows symbolizing military strength, while surrounded by olive branches that represented peace. The inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum appeared above the eagle, while the denomination quarter dollar was placed at the bottom. The mintage of the 1989 P quarter was extremely high, reflecting the enormous demand for quarters in everyday commerce. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of quarters that year, making the 1989 P a common coin that could be found in circulation throughout the United States. High mintages ensured that nearly every household encountered these coins in their daily transactions, from vending machines to payphones and parking meters. For collectors, the 1989 P quarter holds interest primarily as a piece of the broader Washington quarter series. While not rare in circulated condition, uncirculated and proof quality examples are sought after, especially those with sharp details, strong strikes, and minimal contact marks. Philadelphia minted coins of the late 1980s often suffer from weaker strikes compared to Denver issues, so finding a sharply struck 1989 P can be a bit more challenging. Another area of collector interest lies in error coins and varieties. Like other modern quarters, the 1989 P quarter occasionally produced mint errors, such as off-center strikes, double strikes, die cracks, or fill die errors. These error coins are far scarcer than regular issues and can command significant premiums depending on the type and severity of the error. Collectors often search rolls and bags of 1,989 quarters in hopes of uncovering one of these mistakes. The 1989 P quarter represents an important period in U.S. coinage history, as it was struck just a decade before the massive transformation brought about by the state quarters program in 1999. At the time, many Americans could not have imagined that the long-standing Washington Eagle reverse design would soon be retired in favor of a rotating series of designs honoring each of the 50 states. Thus, the 1989 P is among the last generation of traditional Washington quarters. Condition plays a critical role in determining the value of 1989 P quarters. Circulated examples generally hold only face value due to their abundance. However, uncirculated pieces graded MS65 or higher are far less common, and collectors often pay premiums for coins in superb gem condition. The quality of the strike, the presence of luster, and the absence of scratches or bag marks can all greatly influence value. Proof coins were also struck in 1989, but these were not produced at Philadelphia. Instead, the San Francisco Mint issued proof quarters with an S mint mark, which were sold directly to collectors. These proofs were made using specially polished dies and planchets, resulting in mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. While the 1989 P quarter was struck for circulation, the 1989 S proof quarter was reserved for numismatic purposes. The role of the 1989 P quarter in circulation also reflects the economic conditions of late 20th century America. The late 1980s were a period of strong economic activity in the U.S., and quarters were in heavy demand due to widespread use in public coin-operated machines, toll booths, and everyday retail transactions. This demand explains why the mintage figures were so high, ensuring the Philadelphia Mint remained extremely active throughout the year. Design-wise, the 1989 P quarter continued a legacy but also faced criticism. Some numismatists believed that John Flanagan portrait Washington had lost detail over the decades due to repeated re-engraving and dye wear. By the 1980s, many collectors felt the portrait lacked sharpness compared to its original 1932 version. This ongoing criticism eventually led to modifications in the 1990s, when sculptor William Cousins made subtle adjustments to restore detail. Despite its common status, the 1989 P quarter remains significant because it reflects a transitional moment in U.S. coinage history. It represents the stability of a long-running design that Americans trusted and recognized, even as it stood on the cusp of major change with the upcoming state quarters program. Collectors today often view the 1980s and early 1990s Washington quarters as the last of the classic eagle reverse coins. In the numismatic marketplace, circulated 1989 P quarters remain worth 25 cents, while uncirculated examples can fetch between $1 and $5 depending on grade. Certified high-grade examples in MS66 or MS67 can command much higher prices, sometimes ranging from $50 to $200 or more. Error coins or coins with unique varieties can sell for significantly higher amounts, making them attractive targets for specialized collectors. Ultimately, the 1989 P quarter is not a rare coin, but it is an important one for understanding the evolution of modern American coinage. It illustrates the continuation of traditional designs, the massive production capabilities of the Philadelphia Mint, and the economic role of quarters in everyday American life. While its face value remains dominant, its historical and collectible value ensures that it will always hold a place in the story of U.S. coinage. Next up, the 1988 D Washington Quarter is a part of the long-running Washington Quarter series, which began in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the obverse of the coin bears a portrait of Washington, which has become an enduring symbol of American coinage. The reverse, until 1998, showcased a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, a design that was a hallmark of this series for decades. By 1988, the Washington Quarter had already become a familiar and trusted piece of U.S. currency in everyday commerce. The D mint mark on the 1988 quarter signifies that it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the three primary U.S. mints producing coins at the time. Denver was known for producing large mintages of circulating coinage, and 1988 was no exception. These quarters were created primarily for everyday use, not for collectors, though today they hold both historical and numismatic significance depending on their condition and rarity of errors. In terms of mintage, the 1988 D quarter saw a massive production run. Over 596 million quarters were struck at the Denver Mint, making it one of the most common coins of its year. Such high mintage ensured that the coins circulated widely across the nation, fulfilling its purpose as a reliable medium of exchange in the U.S. economy during the late 1980s. The 1980s were a period of significant transition for U.S. coinage. The composition of the Washington Quarter had changed in 1965, moving away from 90% silver to a clad composition of copper and nickel. The 1988 D Quarter, like others produced after 1965, Features a copper-nickel-clad design with a pure copper core, weighing 5.67 grams and measuring 24.3 millimeters in diameter. This modern composition was chosen for durability and cost efficiency. The obverse of the coin retains John Flanagan's famous portrait of George Washington. Washington is shown in a left-facing profile, his hair tied back in a queue, symbolizing strength, leadership, and the nation's founding values. Above Washington's head is the word liberty, while to the left appears the motto, "In God We Trust." Below the portrait is the year of mintage, 1988, and next to Washington's ponytail is a D mint mark. On the reverse, the heraldic eagle remains the central design element. The eagle is depicted with spread wings, perched upon a bundle of arrows, symbolizing readiness to defend the nation. Beneath the arrows is an olive branch, signifying the United States' desire for peace. Surrounding the eagle are the inscriptions United States of America at the top and E Pluribus Unum just above the eagle's head. At the bottom appears the denomination, quarter dollar. Collectors value 1988 D quarters primarily based on condition. Because hundreds of millions were minted, most examples found today are heavily circulated and worth only their face value of 25 cents. However, uncirculated specimens, especially those graded mint state MS 65 or higher, can bring a premium. Coins with sharp strikes, clean surfaces, and brilliant luster are sought after by collectors of modern U.S. coinage. Mint errors also play an important role in the collectability of the 1988 D quarter. While most coins were struck correctly, some rare error varieties exist. These include off-center strikes, double die obverse or reverses, clipped planchets, and coins struck on the wrong planchet. Such errors are far scarcer than regular issues and can sell for significant premiums at auction depending on rarity and demand. Grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, play a vital role in assessing the value of 1988 D quarters. A quarter in MS 60 condition may be worth slightly more than face value, while superbly preserved examples in MS 67 or MS 68 can fetch much higher prices. Coins with full strike details or with attractive toning may also be prized by collectors. Historically, the 1988 quarter represents a time when U.S. coinage was still fairly traditional, just before the era of commemorative circulating designs began. Within a decade, the U.S. Mint would launch the State Quarters Program, 1999-2008, which completely transformed public interest in quarters. Thus, coins like the 1988 D quarter reflect the final years of the classic Washington Eagle reverse design before the modern series took hold. From a historical perspective, 1988 was a year of economic growth and political developments in the United States. Ronald Reagan was finishing his second term as president, and the country was experiencing major shifts in both domestic and foreign affairs. The coins struck that year, including the 1988 D quarter, serve as small but tangible reminders of the American life and economy during that time. In circulation, the 1988 D quarter was heavily used in vending machines, parking meters, and everyday cash transactions. Its durability as a clad coin ensured that many of these quarters remain in use today, even decades later. Although worn, these circulating pieces demonstrate the endurance of U.S. coinage designs and practicality of the Washington Quarter series. For collectors specializing in complete sets, the 1988 D quarter is a required coin in both Washington Quarter albums and U.S. Mint year sets. The U.S. Mint sold uncirculated coin sets and proof sets in 1988, which included pristine examples of the quarter. While the Denver minted circulation strike is common, these mint sets provide higher quality coins that have been preserved for decades. One interesting aspect of 1,988 quarters is their relative affordability. Unlike rare earlier dates or silver issues, the 1988 D quarter is widely available and inexpensive. This makes it an accessible entry point for beginner collectors who want to start building a Washington Quarter collection without a heavy financial investment. Its availability allows new numismatists to study the series and learn about U.S. mint production standards of the 1980s. Despite its commonness, the 1988 D quarter holds historical charm. It belongs to the late pre-statehood era, and for many collectors who grew up using these coins, it carries nostalgic value. Finding one in pocket change today can remind people of the late 20th century, when these coins were new and commonly seen with brilliant luster right out of circulation. In conclusion, the 1988 D Washington quarter is a coin of great historical relevance, even if not highly valuable in most conditions. With its massive mintage, copper-nickel-clad composition, and enduring design, it reflects an era of stability in U.S. coinage before the major changes of the 1990s. Collectors appreciate it for its role in completing sets, potential mint errors, and high-grade examples. For historians, it remains a small yet meaningful piece of America's numismatic and cultural story.